two examples which I made. So when you find that, and when you are searching this democratic Islam, you found it. I found it, and if you find it, you have to embrace it, to cherish it, to put it in to consider it as a treasure. Kurdistan is a treasure for humanity. Really, it is a gem. It is a gem for humanity. This Kurdistan, these guys, these faces which you see at the end of the Battle of Mosul and at the end of Peshmerga. At the end of Peshmerga, these men who reply to the question of Capra, why do we fight? And here, who are on this little barricade of earth with General Barzani, these beautiful and incredible faces, they're a gem.
I want to ask one last question. There's a concept in international relations, a principle called the responsibility to protect. It's been around 25 years, maybe. And the idea being that human rights transcend national boundaries and transcend cultural boundaries. Are you at all hopeful now that the responsibility to protect can become more than just an aspiration, that it can become some kind of operating principle in international affairs?
It is an operating principle. It is inscribed, written in the international law, in the United Nations. The responsibility to protect is not just a moral duty now, it is a political obligation. It is. The problem is that UN is what we know, completely broken institution, powerless, often coward, or if not coward, torn out by forces which are undemocratic and hijacked also by undemocratic forces, and they don't give a shit about the responsibility to protect. But when the UN condemns or refuse those who advocate this responsibility to protect, UN is against the law, against its own law. When we go in air support in Kurdistan, where we support, as you will say, those of you who will come and see tomorrow my diary of the war in Libya, when we go and support those who at this time did fight against dictatorship, we just apply the law. There is a new law. Sometimes in the history of humanity we have progress, and thanks to a few thinkers, activists in the West, in America Michael Walzer, in France my friend Bernard Kouchner, maybe others. I spoke of this responsibility to protect in 1979 for the first time. It is now in the law, responsibility to protect. But the law is not always applied, is not always applicated, is not always respected. But then the UN is out of law. But when you see the Commission of the UN, which is supposed to deal with human rights, and which is where the president of Israel is countries as democratic as Pakistan, as at one moment Saudi Arabia and
Venezuela.
So on, Venezuela in the Under Committee of Human Rights in the UN, we are literally walking on our head. And we are spitting at the international law, but the law is now responsibility to protect. It's a moral duty which entered in the stone of politics. This is the progress of the last decades. Is there at least one question maybe in the room? Yeah.
I'm gonna, let's take that idea.
I want to thank you for your for Who Killed Daniel Pearl. I was in Pakistan when I read that book. It was a powerful, transformative book. And also your work in Bosnia. I'm wondering how the Kurds responded to your film, if they've seen parts of it, and how you protected your own safety while still working to be a part of the troops.
The Kurds saw the two movies. They were the first one to see both. It was my honor and my duty. Even the first one who was in Cannes Film Festival, 2 days before Cannes, I took a plane, I went to Erbil, and I did show it to President Massoud Barzani and a lot of commanders around him. For me, this was a must. My safety and my security, really, I did put it in the hands of my Kurdish companions. First of all, I did not want my security to count more than theirs. I was on when they did not have a helmet, I did not have a helmet. When they did not have a full metal jacket, I did not have a full metal jacket, which means never. And I relied on them. I did leave it to them. Really, it was our deal. Unsaid deal, by the way. Very often they told me about my security. I said, you are in charge. No worry. I follow you, I trust. I am honored that you accept me in your ranks. I am honored the scene in Peshmerga when you see these generals making a plan of attack. We should go by the hill on the right, no by the hill. This, for me, it was a treat to be admitted to film that, to see that. It was like approaching le Saint des Saints, the saint of the saint, you know. So when some gentlemen or ladies make you this gift of putting you in the security, I knew they dealt with it, and it was their problem. I didn't raise the question.
So we could take 2 more questions. I see the young lady here, and so we'll take you, and then we'll take our final question.
Thank you for the movies. I'd be interested in why you chose to narrate so much. Why wouldn't you let them tell their own story?
Why do you narrate your documentaries as opposed to letting the characters speak more?
It's two. You are right. It's 2 different ways of doing. You have novels where you have a lot of dialogue, like Hemingway, and you have novels which are written in a completely different way, with only one monologue, stream of consciousness. Same. These films, my way of, I don't say it is good, my way of doing it is a stream of consciousness, a little monotonous maybe, a little boring maybe, I don't know, but it's my way. It's my way. I cannot do it in another way, but I respect completely the documentary makers which I respect most. I do the contrary, the opposite. There is no law.
Gentleman here has been very patient.